Happy Saturday. Good morning. My name is Mary. I am the portrait photographer and videographer at Mary Breuer Photos and the founder of this portrait project, The Broken and Beloved. I wanted to give you some free information to give you a little bit of an insight into where my reasoning for this project was really born and why I feel it is absolutely necessary and could be the very thing that could save your life. And I know that that's a big, bold statement, and you're probably wondering, how in the world is a portrait going to save my life? I'm not quite understanding the connection. And for those of you who have that in your mind right now, I just want to invite you to be open and to hear me out, and to just give your mind and your heart an opportunity to be able to just see a perspective a little bit differently. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how I started to get onto this journey and really start to make the connections. And I have to be bold and honest and say that this journey for me has been something that I have been looking into for quite some time because of my own issues coming up, even within my marriage and with my family. And I was continuously feeling tired and feeling sick. And I want to just tell you that I'm not at this point of like 100% recovery. I am recovering. And I'm like, but this is too good to sit here and not share this information with people. And it all started on TikTok. So I started to follow on TikTok, and then it's an algorithm. So then once you like something, then it starts to lead you to something else. And so I was following a few creators that were talking about boundaries, and it led me to somebody talking specifically about this book called, I'll just pop it up here so you can see. But anyways, it was called this, which is Recovering from Emotionally Immature Parents and Practical Tools to Establish Boundaries and Reclaim Your Emotional Autonomy. And that's really what led me down this journey of really trying to figure out how my lack of boundaries in my life was making me sick. And I just want to read a quote to you by Dr. Gabor Mate. And he says, in the final analysis, disease itself is a boundary question. When we look at the research that predicts who is likely to become ill, we find that the people at the greatest risk are those who experienced the most severe boundary invasions before they were able to construct an autonomous sense of self. So that right there was really my way of getting at the root of, why do I overeat? Why do I overspend? Why do I overwork? Why am I doing all of these things? And why is it having this effect on me? And so that led me down another path to then start to look at my family of origin and how I was raised. And I just want to make a very strong disclaimer here that this is not, I get to blame my parents and be a victim. This information that I'm sharing with you and that these people who have created these tools are sharing is a way for you to have an awareness, for you to start to see some patterns and connect the dots. And that's what is so cool about this. So I want to take a moment to just kind of give you a little bit of inside of this book, because this was the very first book that led me on my journey of discovering why the heck I struggle so badly with boundaries and creating them and having them. And I also want to say that your parents knew what they knew with what they had and what they had. So what that means is that, again, I don't want this to be like a bash my parent type of thing. This is really to be for you to have a healthy understanding. And what I love about this book is that if your parents are still living, for example, it gives you some really great resources that empowers you, because I think the most important thing about boundaries is boundaries are for yourself. They are what you are going to do or not do, and that it's not about controlling another person. It's simply about having that power within yourself and reclaiming that, so that way you can actually have time for yourself. You can have it. That is self-care. Boundaries are nothing but needs. And for a long time, we go without catering to them. So I want to just talk to you a little bit about how do you know if your parent is an emotionally immature parent. And this can also be people that you're surrounding yourself with. But I want to focus a little bit more on parents or the people who raised you, because that is where your whole foundation was started from. So I want you to just kind of put your thinking cap on and go back into your childhood and think about the people who had influence in your life as you were growing up. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It can be a different type of caretaker that you had, etc. And then what I want you to do after this is then make comparison to who you're surrounding yourself with as far as your spouse, your boyfriend or girlfriend, your friends, and seeing if there's any like, well, wait a minute, this is connecting. So what I love is that it helps just bring it to the surface and puts a name to some of this, so that way you can start to discover and see. And then once you know what the pattern is, then you can change it. And that's what's so cool about this. So I want to start by just trying to figure out if you have been dealing with an emotionally immature parent or somebody in your life. And here's 10 different topics, I guess, or here's like what it's like to be with them. This is what it feels like, which is number 1, do you feel emotionally lonely around them? 2, interactions feel one-sided and frustrating. 3, you feel coerced and trapped. 4, they come first and you are secondary. 5, they won't be emotionally intimate or vulnerable with you. 6, they communicate through emotional contagion. 7, they don't respect your boundaries or individuality. 8, you do the emotional work in the relationship. 9, you lose emotional autonomy and mental freedom. And 10, they can be killjoys and even sadistic. So I also want to read to you a couple of other things as well, which is an emotional takeover is when their emotional state has become the center of your attention. Another word that's used for this is trigger. Their emotional state is a trigger for you. So then it like absorbs you and you're being like taken over by it. So that's a trigger. And this is some things that you, if you say yes to one of these 16 different statements, chances are that you had a parent or a caretaker, or you have someone in your life, depending on what cap you're wearing to do this workshop with, is this. So number 1, my parent often overreacted to relatively minor things. And here's the other thing I just want to say briefly. Not everything in our childhood or upbringing is like this over-the-top trauma, okay? Like it's not necessarily like neglect or physical abuse or things like that. These can be small offenses that happen. And again, especially if you have younger parents or parents who, maybe weren't ready yet for a kid, this can be very, these are things that are just, I don't want to say normal, but they really are, especially with not having the knowledge around it. So I just want to make that clear that you might be feeling like, my childhood was great, like my parent was very loving. Well, there can also be these little nuances that happen as well. And so that's why I'm reading these to you. So again, number 1, my parent is often overreacted to relatively minor things. My parent didn't express much empathy or awareness of my feelings. Number 3 is when it came to deeper feelings and emotional closeness, my parent seemed uncomfortable and didn't go there. Number 4, my parent was often irritated by individual differences or different points of view. Number 5, when I was growing up, my parent used me as a confidant but wasn't a confidant for me. Number 6, my parent often said and did things without thinking about people's feelings. Number 7, I didn't get much attention or sympathy from my parent, except maybe when I was really sick. Number 8, my parent was inconsistent, sometimes wise, sometimes unreasonable. Number 9 is conversations mostly centered around my parents' interests. Number 10, If I became upset, my parent either said something superficial and unhelpful or got angry and sarcastic. 11, even polite disagreement could make my parent very defensive. Number 12, it was deflating to tell my parent about my success because it didn't seem to matter. Number 13, I frequently felt guilty for not doing enough or not caring enough for them. Number 14, facts and logic were no match for my parents' opinions. Number 15, my parent wasn't self-reflective and rarely looked at their part in a problem. And number 16, my parent tended to be a black and white thinker, unreceptive to new ideas. So this is something that is important to look at because, again, we're not trying to shift blame here. That's not what this is about. What this is about the ability to actually do some self-reflection ourselves. And here's the other thing. You might even identify, if you are a parent right now, you might even identify as some of those things. Because I know that when I picked this up, I was just like, I think I act like that as a parent. And it was a really hard smack in the face with reality and truth. But there's also a hope. There's also hope in this that we can start to rewire ourselves and start to have this knowledge and turn it into wisdom, turn it into something that is going to be applicable and practical for us. And we can change the patterns. And the reason it's so important is I'm going to go back to that very first thing that I said in the beginning, which was that quote that I read from Dr. Mattei, which was essentially that illness, disease, all of that is linked not strictly, but pretty strictly, if you think about it, to boundary invasions. And a lot of times, being nice is actually what causes you stress. Because when you're too afraid to say no or stick up for yourself, even when it's for a parent or a coworker or your spouse or anybody, a client, doesn't matter. When you're too afraid because you want to be nice, that ends up becoming now your problem and your burden to bear. And that stress weighs heavily on your cells in your body. And I believe that is the biggest reason why, especially when I'm working with women who are struggling with their body image and feeling like they're not enough and feeling like I just hate my body. I just hate it. It's because when you are so disconnected from owning what you want and speaking with assertiveness because you're afraid of abandonment, you're afraid that these people in your life, because you were trained early on maybe, because when you said something, one of those 16 things that I listed there was a true reality for you. So it was scary to say no because you were afraid that you were going to get left out. You were afraid that relationship would be over. You were afraid of punishment. You were afraid of retaliation or passive aggressiveness. And so it would just become easier to be compliant. And then what ends up happening is we start to develop coping mechanisms to be able to deal with the stress. So and those coping mechanisms look like eating things that aren't serving us or overeating, right? Overspending on things that don't serve us because we are just so pushed to the max. And a lot of the times it's subconscious. We could also be overworking. We could be overworking to try to deal with it. And for me, my own personal coping mechanism is to be busy so that way I don't have to feel badly about saying like, oh, sorry, I'm working, I can't. Oh, sorry, I can't do that because I'm working. Because people don't argue with you when you're working, because that's what society builds up, is that your success is based on what you can do and how much you can do and how great it is for you to do all the things. So there wasn't really much pushback. So I found freedom in that. So that's my story. That is how I have been able to identify, and now knowing what I know in my family of origin, realizing that how I grew up was and how I was taught and not taught how to have these limitations or be able to have the safety of being able to express my emotions in safety and not have to fear, being shut down or being ignored, etc. It's enabling me as a parent now to be able to make some changes in my family and with my own children. And so I'm finding a lot of healing in that. And where the portraits come in is that just like when we figure out and we are given this knowledge of like, here's a new way of looking at something. What if, etc., etc. That's exactly what I can do in a portrait session. What if I could give you a visually different perspective of yourself? Because when we are looking in the mirror, like the one that's behind me, you are only getting a 180-degree version of yourself. That's only half of the truth. That's not the full truth of what you look like and how people see you. And so it can be really, really entrapping, just like just like this, like when you're talking about like emotional entrapment, when you don't know that this is what's happening and you don't know anything better, it can feel absolutely daunting and hopeless. It can feel just so like you're so stuck and you just can't connect, because that's the only thing that you've ever seen and that's the only thing that you've ever known. And when you don't know anything else, how are you supposed to feel any other way? So when we work together during the Broken and Beloved project, we will be working on not just the portrait side of things, but we're also going to be working on the inner work of things like this, where we're going to talk about these things, because I know that if I can be able to give you the space to be able to think and to be able to have the option to not just change your perspective on the physical photo, but also be able to change your perspective on a more deeper level, it'll help give you the freedom that you are looking for. And when I can give you a 360-degree view of yourself, when I can show you the whole truth of who you are, that is going to be able to help you unlock so much freedom that is available to you. And it's something that I'm extremely passionate about, because I know that no diet, no exercise regime, none of that is going to actually be helpful until you start learning the root cause of figuring out why you have these coping mechanisms. And when you start to realize that, it really empowers you to be able to make some changes in your patterns, in your habits, in the cycle. You can break the cycle, you can change it up, and you can start to have a different life. And you not just are changing it for yourself. Oftentimes, and currently the women that are currently in the group in the project, these women are caretakers. They're either mothers, they're healthcare professionals, they are entrepreneurs that are in service-based industries. Like, these are women that are very much so in a caretaker type of role in all different ways. Because they're either caring for clients, caring for their family, or caring for patients, caring for someone. And I just have to say that if you're following this page, chances are that you too might be feeling like, I struggle around in this area. And so I wanted to offer you just a little smidget, just a little teeny bit of information for you to be in tools. Go read this book. If anything, check this book out. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it on Audible. I highly recommend, though, doing it on a Kindle or getting the paperback so you can do some of the assessments that are in this book and have the tools. She also goes into more details on statements that you can say when you want to say no, when you just don't know how to say no. She talks about that in this book as well. But I wanted to offer you just this perspective shift, just this moment to be able to hear that the Broken and Beloved project is really more so about your overall health and relationship with yourself. Because I know that when you have a healthy relationship with yourself, it makes you a better mom. It makes you a better wife. It makes you a better nurse. It makes you a better friend, a better daughter. Because then when you're truly loving yourself from that capacity, you're being honest. You're no longer lying to somebody. You're no longer saying yes to them on the outside, but no on the inside, and then holding resentment against them because That's not loving. That's not loving. And it gives you the ability to speak your truth. And then you have a support system of people to help encourage you and keep pushing you forward. Because making changes in a vacuum cleaner is setting yourself up for failure. You can do this in a group with other women who are doing the same thing, and having some structure behind it is super helpful to be able to make the gains that you need to, and not necessarily in the gym. So, really quick, the Broken and Beloved Project is a package project, which means there's a couple of different services that are included with it. Included in the Broken and Beloved Project, and for less than $8 a day, you can join us and you will get a headshot session to be able to celebrate your yes. So it's a way for you to be able to initiate your transformation, your statement, your proclamation of like, I am doing something for me. And it's also a way for me and you to begin our relationship, a way for you to come into the studio, to meet my studio assistant, Jackie, for you to be able to see the studio and have the ability to, with, your favorite outfit, be in front of the camera and get to make your proclamation. Then we will be doing a monthly 9 boundary study lessons with us. Some of them will be live, and a couple of them will be ones that you'll catch up on when you first get into the private Facebook group. But those sessions are designed to be able to listen to other people's stories and takeaways and hear different examples and how it's playing out in different people's lives. In the group, we have women aged 20-something to almost 60-something. I don't know exact ages on everybody, but that's the variety. So we have people who are, just getting into adulthood, and these women don't have children yet, and they're not there yet. And then there's other women who are older, who are empty nesters, and everybody kind of in between. All walks of life are in this group, but the unity between everybody is that all of them are looking for a way to reconnect to their body. And when we look behind the reasoning for that, it's because of being too nice. Too nice. Okay? So we're going to be working on that on a monthly basis. And then on a weekly basis, we check in and we share. And I love that the connection is already happening and the intimacy is already happening. So that's something that we do on a virtual side. And then on a more physical side and a more an in-person side, we've also rented out Genstar Yoga, and once a month we get together to be able to move our bodies together and connect and learn some fundamentals and be able to just have that time for ourselves. And then it creates a little bit more intimacy and chance for relationships to blossom. So you'll be getting some friends out of this. Then in the fall, you'll get the opportunity to join us for your boudoir session. This is something that's all-inclusive, which means you're going to get a self-care kit full of some really great goodies, some more classes at Genstar Yoga for you to prep for your shoot. You're going to get a Hydrolux facial with Maureen at Bright Aesthetics. You're also going to get a chance to meet with Jackie prior to be able to talk about what colors and what type of wardrobe would look best on you, and you get to try things on, and you get to just have a little bit of girl time and fun time with Jackie in the studio prior to your session. And we do that because we want you to feel completely stress-free as possible. We take that burden off so that way when you come into the studio, you know exactly what to expect for your shoot. Then during your session, you're going to get hair and makeup, and we're going to wine and dine you, play your favorite tunes, and then you're going to have an opportunity to work with me directly through a whole guided boudoir session. And a boudoir is nothing but a space. It's nothing but a space, and it's nothing but a place for you to be able to let down and be who you want to be in that space. That is the meaning of boudoir. For some women, they feel super sexy and sensual in a nice dress or off-the-shoulder sweater. Some women are just like, I want to really try to connect to myself more from like a nude perspective. I love all of it. All of it's welcome, okay? And then you get to choose what 20 images of yours you would love to put in your album, because yes, you get to have an actual album from this and a USB with those same images on there, so you can digitally enjoy them as well and take them with you, make them portable, show your friends, and just be excited. Then you have the opportunity to pick out your favorite one. the one that you would feel most comfortable being published in our new magazine that will be putting together the collection of your stories. That's going to be your opportunity to share your takeaways, to share what you've learned, to share any breakthroughs that you've had, because we know the importance of sharing stories, because it helps inspire and empower others around us to be brave, to have courage. And then we're going to be taking those magazines and we're going to be selling them. Actually, we'll pre-sell them in the summer for a fundraiser, because those of you who don't know, we have been raising funds like crazy, scholarship funds, to make this program as affordable and accessible as possible to our community, because it's extremely important for women to be able to have this type of community in their lives, to have this support. It's vital to your health. So we want to make it as accessible as possible. So we're going to be pre-selling these magazines in fundraiser fashion this summer. And then in January of 2023, we will be premiering and launching the next round of the Broken in Blood Project 2023. And that'll be an opportunity for you to be able to come in person and celebrate with the women that were walking this path alongside you. And you're also going to have the opportunity to invite a woman in your life who might benefit from this, who might need this in their lives. So it's a chance for us to celebrate once again, and then to welcome and invite other women to be able to be a part of it. So that is the Broken and Beloved Project. And like I said, for less than $8 a day, you can be a part of all of that. It's over a $10,000 value, but that's not what we're charging. That's not what we're asking. That's not the price point here. Like I said, we want to make this accessible. And yes, we still have, because I just booked a couple more people under our fundraiser. A couple of business owners chose to jump on last minute here in April to be able to help me sponsor a couple more scholarships. So we do have some more scholarship funds. So I'm totally excited to say that if you have been waiting to do this, we have extended, because we've gotten more scholarship funds, we've extended the enrollment date until, let me take a look when I have it, April 7th now. You have until April 7th to actually say yes. So if you are someone who wants to participate in this, I'm going to drop the link. Actually, I'm not going to drop the link, because I want you to tell me that you're excited, that you want to have this. So in the comments below this video, if this is like, yeah, I need to do something like this, because I don't want to live my life the way that I have been. I'm ready for some freedom, some autonomy, and some more control in my life, and having that assertion in my life and confidence. I want all of that. That's what I want. Then let me know in the comments below, or you can also text me at 920-944-3946. And what we'll do is we'll get that application process started. So if you are interested in working with us for the 2022 Broken and Beloved Project, this is the lowest rate you will ever get, because next year the pricing will be going up. And I just want to say to you, so if you're like, well, I'll have to wait till next year it's going to be a little bit more pricier, because this was our first round of doing it. And we're going to obviously be adding to it, because why would we not? We're going to keep building. So therefore, we're already projecting that the cost will be going up. So this would be the time to get in. So if you were somebody who's like, I'd love to do a boudoir session, but I'm struggling with my body and I just need to have a little bit more support before I can do a session like this, then this is the perfect program for you, the perfect project for you to be involved in, because we won't be doing it until the fall. So you'll have time. You'll get to be able to hang out with me and get to know me. And it's going to feel very natural and just comfortable by the time you come in for your shoot, because we're going to be hanging out quite often. Okay. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for this workshop, for this video, learning a little bit more about what this all means and starting to piece these pieces together for yourself. I really hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you want to hear a little bit more of any of this, if this was great and you're like, yeah, more content like this, please, because I need some directions and some resources. I'm more than happy to share resources that I've been using in my own life with you. But this is definitely where I got started, right here. So check it out. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you all so much. Talk soon.